Review Environmental Committee meeting to order.
Okay,
4:01.
Allison's buried in something, so
You can take the notes.
I'm taking notes. Jack's absent and so we pick a chair.
Here's a call from Jack.
Short recess.
Hi, Jack. Well, we're doing fine, just kind of missing you. We're having a CEQA committee meeting. And your name came up, of course. Just wondering how you're doing. Well, that's good. Are you back at home now or in some halfway house? Oh, good, good. I called what I thought was your home number and found it was disconnected. So how are you feeling? Well, good will do for now, I guess. And maybe we'll see you then on the 18th. Next board meeting. That's
Week
next.
Not Monday, but yeah, week.
It's today is the
11th.
Today is the 11th, so it's a week from today. Yep. Well, fire up that gas-powered fancy chair you have there and see you next week. All right. Thanks, Jack. Glad you're feeling a little better. Good call. Okay. Take care. I don't know what the problem was, but he's out of the hospital at least.
Always good.
Like he's fairly coherent.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so meetings to order, select a chair. I heard one vote for Bill and no votes for Steve.
Right.
Okay,
1-0 with one abstention.
A big responsibility. But okay. And public comments. Do we have any? No public here. So we'll move on to item 3.
So we've bundled these together under item 3. There's 2 properties in your package, 1988 and 2017 East Ojai Avenue. This is that group of homes that we've been seeing sort of float in, right there, south side of the highway, just east of vicinity of Ojai Lumber.
High Lumber and Aquaflow. I think they're probably right next to Aquaflow.
And the sewer main is on the north side of the highway. St. Joseph's is connected. And so these properties, they're existing properties, they're existing on septic. They've gone through the process of getting their annexation maps done and their annexation applications done. So we bundle the package, we take the application, the map, annexing them to this CEQA action and send it into LAFCO. They do their LAFCO processing to
Next year sometime, we'll hear from LAFCO.
they're doing better on these onesies. They're doing better. The map takes a little bit of time, but that gets moved over to the county mapping division. But they're doing better. I'd expect to see these probably on the LAFCO agenda, not January, February, for sure. And then the map might take another month or 2. So I'd expect these to kind of be out of LAFCO March, April, and then go through the connection process to connect. It's a difficult connection process because the line's on the north side of the highway and it's deep. It's not super deep, but it's not shallow.
Are you allowed to tunnel?
No. So they got a trench across the road. So they're digging on one lane at a time, flaggers, steel plates at night, Caltrans highway. Caltrans used to sort of, as long as we were involved and we made sure that traffic control was okay, they kind of stayed away from the process. But Caltrans has last couple of years, has just gotten difficult when it comes to doing anything in their highway. Full plans got to go to downtown LA, get approved. get kicked back for modifications, go down again. It's just gotten very bureaucratic to work on the highways. That goes for us too. It's everybody. We're allowed to do maintenance, pull the manhole and do our cleaning, but if we do any kind of digging, it's just gotten difficult. And I think the reason is lots of people were kind of doing things on the edge of the right of way, sidewalks, driveways, sorts of stuff, and never even telling Caltrans. And so Caltrans said, you know what?
It wasn't in the roadway, but it was in the right of way.
Yeah, and they just then they had a couple of lawsuits because somebody did something they never knew about it. They had a lawsuit. Caltrans went, that's it. Everything, no more inspector discretion. So it's just gotten difficult.
I imagine they've had to staff up then too.
Well, I'm not sure they have, but everything goes to downtown. So these are not these are very doable. They're just not simple. They're deep. Caltrans permit, traffic control. The on-site stuff is pretty simple. It's just abandon the septic through environmental health, run a lateral. We end up sort of quarterbacking, a lot of these because these people, they're just trying to, they don't know how to comply. So we step in and kind of help quarterback it a little bit to try and, make the process work. But their existing houses want to do septic to sewer. We've seen 3 or 4 in this little one reach on the south side. Seems like they're all starting to go this direction.
Kind of tie a little bit northeast then and catch the main just east of Gorham. You don't have to mess with Gorham.
So they'll go across the street and down, and we don't make them big, deep all the way across the road. We'll let them go across and kind of come in at the top. So the whole trench isn't 20 feet deep. It's only 20 feet at the last.
So do we pump under San Antonio Creek or do we go across the bridge?
It's deep enough to go under.
Oh, okay.
That's why it was deep. The question was it going to go even deeper so that Siete Robles could come in? And when Siete Robles said no, we went deep and we went just deep enough to get under the creek. So there's a piece that goes down under the creek.
Is that Thatcher Creek along there? San Antonio Creek is
Yeah, it's Thatcher.
south end of Siete Robles.
It's Thatcher Creek with where Thatcher cuts across on the angle. So these are pretty standard. They're just existing house conversions. We're seeing a lot of these inquiries because the county is not allowing people to do room additions and ADUs on existing septic systems. So they're making people convert to sewer. Then when you're connected, now you can come into the county and do a room addition, do a second story, do an ADU. They're not letting anybody do any kind of building expansion without
Add to the
septic.
sanitary system writ large without hooking to sewer. Yeah.
So, this is completely normal, standard, nothing out of the ordinary other than the locations of construction. And so the action would be to approve these. We then take it to the board as just a confirming. Anytime we do an environmental document of any kind, and so it has to be a board has to make a finding.
Sure.
And in this case, these are negative declarations, meaning they don't have to do an EIR. There's no mitigation. But anytime we as an agency do an environmental document from negative deck up to mitigated negative deck to EIR to full EIR, focused EIR, anytime we do one of those, the board has to take the legal action of approving that environmental document. So this would go to the board for the board's approval of the negative deck, and then
Why is it a negative deck?
because there's no expansion of the system, because there's an existing building, existing septic, and so there's no added factor to the sewer, and we have existing capacity, so there's no mitigation for coming to our system, and there's no expansion of the 1 unit's going to 2 as part of this action. The interesting part is we approve it, it gets on sewer as 1, and then down the road, you can go, ADU plus JADU plus whatever the county allows. And that doesn't require another environmental action, even though that's the expansion on the system. This, in this very narrow governmental view, is you're on septic, you have one, you're going to sewer, you have one. That's exempt from a formal requirement.
And what the next expansion costs depends on whether it's new or converted and all of that, sure.
So if you're fine with this, we take this to the board for adoption, and then we notify LAFCO, here's your package, and see if they can get it on in January. If not January, probably February.
Well, I'm in favor of pushing it to the board.
Yeah, that's. I'm as well.
I'm curious though about the timeline, the general timeline for these things. When people call and say, I need to get on to sewer.
Right.
In this case, was it because their septic is failing or because they want to build something new or?
I don't know on these two. These were not brought to my attention as, we have this sort of emergency path with LAFCO about we're not allowed to allow somebody to connect to our system without LAFCO saying they're in your district.
Yeah, right.
So if someone has sewage backing up, coming out the drains in the house, rather than red tag the house and make people move out, if they can get on sewer quick, we have a process where we gather some information, we have them fill out an annexation application, we have them pay their fees. We then call LAFCO and say, we have an application and paid fees, here's the situation. They allow us to go forward with connecting that property on an emergency basis
While they ponder it.
while they do the legal process.
Okay.
So there's an escape valve for emergencies.
This doesn't appear to be.
This is not neither of those. Usually on these, we get a feeler, hey, what's it take to connect to sewer? And that's followed up, days with, okay, here's my application.
Takes a lot of time and a fair amount of money.
And then there's a big package. The LAFCO application says what fire zone are you in, what floodplain are you in, it's all of this stuff. And we're like, why does that matter what fire zone you're in if somebody just is on existing house on septic on an existing house going on sewer? And LAFCO's like, that's our application. And so it takes some work to get the administrative process. To get to here, it's probably anywhere from a month to 2 months by the time, because we got to get the map done so that we've hired a surveyor, gone out and done the new map for the annexation. That's all been received and in-house. So that if once the board approves this, that application that's big and bulky, the map that's already been done, and this action all gets bundled up with a check to go to LAFCO. So this is anywhere from
So they're paying their fees here up front.
Yes.
To go with the application.
Yes. It's about an $8,000 fee. Of that, we get $300. The rest.
Annexation application.
Annexation application.
The actual capacity charge
Down the road.
business comes later.
This is to just get you legal on our map up front, turn you from white to yellow.
Takes $8,000 to do that.
Yeah. Now people get money back if the plan jet goes quick, but the upfront, you got to write the check for $8,000. Well, they don't let you pay as you go. It's pay up front. And we get 300 of that, and then the other 8 goes to counties and LAFCO and everybody. So this is probably 1 to 2 months in, and they probably got anywhere from 1 to 3 months after this. By the time they get to LAFCO, get on the agenda, get approved, county mapper, surveyor does a preliminary review of the map. If the map isn't done, but it's close, they'll give us a letter saying, go ahead, while we mess with the surveyor language on the map. But it can be anywhere from 1 to 6 months from start to finish, which is pretty good. It used to take a year.
That's good.
And then they got
a
it.
Homeowner, yeah.
The problem we have is a couple of people want to do the application at the same time they're getting a county building permit for an expansion, and LAFCO comes unglued they find out that you were actually processing a building permit for an expansion before they actually even allowed you to connect. So they'll pull the annexation documents. And so we tell people, we're like, look, you got to play the sequential process. Do the LAFCO, submit to the, get it connected, go to the county for your, whatever you want to do, your expansion, but don't be doing this while you're doing this up front, because those two agencies come unglued if they find out somebody's trying to, go quick.
Feels like somebody is assuming they're going to be approved. We don't like that.
We've had conversations with LAFCO and the county and said, look, if somebody has a house and they have a legal right to a second house on the property, why do you stall them? And if somebody's on septic and we have capacity, why do you delay them connecting to us? That ought to be an instantaneous, better for the environment to get rid of the septic and get rid of that septic. If they're willing to pay the price, the owner's probably willing to pay the price. Why does it take 6 months to a year when it's better for the environment? And if they have a legal right for that second unit, why does that sort of circumvent this? It's a non-starter conversation. So we do what we can.
Yeah, it's just a shame that we can't just go ahead and have them do that whole area at one time, but everybody's got to come on by themselves and pay their 8,000.
Yeah, and
It's crazy.
we have these,
A time saver.
well, it's,
Realize it was that expensive to be annexed.
yeah, just to change and it literally is changing that map up front from white to yellow. It does you nothing. It's like getting inside the city limits.
No legal description of any parcel changes in that process.
And you don't get anything for it. You don't get a building permit. You don't get a sewer permit. You just get, you're now yellow on our map and we can serve you.
It's crazy.
So we had, it's kind of this, it's going to put it under number 4, but I'll bump it up here. So just this morning, we had contractor and an engineer come in for, if you go up Foothill, where Foothill Lane comes in, right in that vicinity on the east side of Foothill is Anne Hathaway's house, and is a house owned by a Getty descendant and somebody else of some name I should care about. And then across,
They're all still on septic.
and they're all in septic. And then on Foothill Lane is a couple of attorneys, a couple of hedge fund guy. On the south side of the street is Anson Williams and his wife.
And then there's that new house that just went in.
We met, Allison and I met with them probably, it's pushing a year, and said, mainline extension and talking about grouping but the cost on mainline extensions when it's narrow streets, got to stay health and safety 10 feet away from the water line, got oak trees and cobble. We're going to trash those streets. It's so expensive that everybody even people of means back away. Well, they came in this morning and said, hey, what about if we did a private system on pumps? We've gotten a guy over on Del Oro who will let us buy an easement through his property and go out to Del Oro and not have to go all the way down Foothill. Said, we as a sanitary district will take anybody's connection.
Don't mediate private party transactions.
Right. You
show us that it's legal.
show us that it's legal, get easements for you cross property lines, make it all legit and to your advantage. So
It's actually pretty good because they're well uphill from Del Oro.
yeah, so it looks like there's on Foothill, there's 4 or 5, maybe 6 properties right in that vicinity. And there's at least
Lane.
and Foothill Lane has got 2 and some more people may. So we may have a group now that may go on a pump system, but there's a pump system that works and I'm fine with. It's called E1, EONE. And they put in the city of Ojai put one in. It's a 2-foot diameter black plastic cylinder, sink it in the ground. The top is a little mushroom cap, just light green. You bury the whole thing.
It's just a buffer.
And it's just the lid. And then inside is a standard size pump. And it's not a Home Depot pump. They're pretty substantial. They're used all over. Rincon Point, Surfer Beach up there in Carp, put in a whole bunch of them, 70 of them. They're used where the land is kind of flat and there isn't, nice topography, and they're pretty bulletproof. And then it sinks in there, runs up to the house, and there's a little panel like a sprinkler controller. And They just all feed into one pump and one force main. City of Ojai put one in Libby Park, where their lateral out of Libby Park went down under the little creek right behind the post office. And so they were always getting that sag filled up with garbage. And they put it in and then pulled the force main through the old lateral. So they didn't have to trench and dump it in. And so they're getting used around town. And these guys are like, hey, can we do something like that? And I'll build the system. I'm like, it's technically.
Somebody on the east side of Foothill and somebody on the north side of Del Oro has to agree, and then you're okay.
Right. And I said, I'll even take control of I'll even own the main line. You put it into my standards with all the right systems. I'll own the main line. And
From the pump on out?
no, that they'll own from their pump. Each house has a pump and then a tie-in to the main. And right at the main, there's a check valve and a shutoff valve that goes in. And then I own on this side.
Okay.
And then every house owns its pump, the connection, the check valve assembly, and that's all theirs. And then the main line is like a 2-inch gas line. And at the end of the main line, there's a little, what we call a pig port. And it's underground. It's in a little concrete vault. Clean out port. And we open it up, put a couple of little hard plastic balls into it, connect the water truck up, give it a juice, and the balls clean the inside of the force main. The guy at the manhole at the other end catches it with a fishing net. And so about once every year or two, we pig the main line, and then they own their piece. So, but they build it all and they donate to us, and then.
Sure. Just like a developer donating streets and curbs and gutters.
So we have a short little system, same exact setup on Cuyama in front of there at Sierra and Cuyama, I think. We have about 4 or 5 houses on it. And so it's starting to be used.
How Mark Chevelle was connected?
No, he's on a gravity. This is, you heard the name.
Second house up Sierra, yeah.
This is, if you heard the name Adam Keir or Herbert or sort of, there was here.
Yeah.
He's on.
GMA guy.
Yeah, they're in that area. So it's a good system. And if they all do their own piece and give us the main line. The thing about the main line is you only have to dig a trench, a 6-inch wide trench. You can do it with a ditch witch. And it's only down a couple of feet and you fill the trench with slurry. So you don't have to dig down 5, 6, 8 feet, dig through cobble under trees, archaeology, all kinds of stuff.
Are these pumps like little maceration pumps?
Yes, they're all grinders. And when they got level controls in them. And so when it kicks on.
Why a 2-inch line will serve that many houses.
Yeah.
Because you're doing all the grinding.
And when they kick on, they try and pump into the force main. If 5 other houses are pumping on at that moment in time, the back pressure will be such that the pump senses that back pressure and just shuts off, turns back on in 10 minutes.
And it's just a little buffer there.
Yeah. So
It's a wet well.
it's a little
wet
well.
well.
Yeah.
And so you've got to go across one of the properties on the east side of Foothill.
Yeah.
But just behind them, I think that's public land. Around the catch basin.
No, this will all go through private. They've done their homework. They've gotten through a couple of lots and like, look, if you can make it legal and use a good technically proficient system, we'll work with you. We're not going to buy into, a bunch of Home Depot, sump pumps. But it's a cool little system. They use them all over the south, east, where land is flat. They also use them along waterfronts where most of the houses have septics that can't drain away from the lake or the water or the ocean or the beach or something. And so every house has a pump and, pumps it back. That's what they did on Rincon.
Fill into a field.
Yeah. Well, up to a treatment facility. Carpinteria, they have like 72, I think, right there on Rincon Point where the surfers were getting sick for decades because all the septics were on the beachfront just
Leaching out there.
reaching into the surf. So, that was just this morning, but we're here. But 2 or 3 of those want to do expansions. They want to build a, you know, another wing. They want to add an ADU. They want to do this. They want to, county says no, city says no. So I think this one on Foothill with the new pump system has some legs. I think it's 50-50 whether it goes, but it's the best chance, you know, they're going
To the Arbolata, there aren't very many people that are trying to do expansions per se.
Yeah,
And I hear about it on the planning commission. But this, I'm not sure this system would work there. Because you're gonna have to have 2 or 3 mains.
well, at some point, there's limited number of places where there's a house that wants to get on sewer right next to a house that's already on it, and they can get through somebody's lot to somebody else's. We're running out of the easy
Those
one.
down to El Paseo.
Yeah. We're running out of those easy ones. And now at some point, they're still gonna have to do the, like you say, the gravity trunk lines up El Norte and up Foothill and, you know, and there's no way to get around that.
Trunk line's gonna be expensive.
Yeah. Well, the big problem is the water line's already there and health and safety code requires 10 foot of separation. So now you got to figure out how to keep yourself 10 feet apart. And
We see us put the water lines right down the middle of the road everywhere. So you're digging either in roadway or in private property.
and then boulders and oak trees and archaeology. I mean, it's just going to be slow slugging if you ever do it. And it'll be a big project and a CFD and so, but this might be doable.
This sounds easy.
So these two will take to the board and proceed on with you know the ones here before you.
Anything else?
Nothing else on our.
Adjourn this at 4:28.